HR Famous is brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today. HR Famous is also brought to you by Kinetics, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies, named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider. Kinetics uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetics a call. Find them online at kineticshr.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of HR Famous. Today, it's just me and my best friend, KD, because Jessica is on vacation, or I took the day off. I don't know. Is she on vacation, KD?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Maybe it's vacation. Maybe it's a staycation.
Mental health day. It was something. We tried to get times. Like, we actually have been pretty damn good over the first year of HR Famous of getting us all together. We never thought we would get ourselves together that often because our schedules are so crazy. And I think Jessica's actually been at every single one pretty much. Katie, I think you've missed, I can't say. I probably have missed more, but you guys work around my schedule to add me in. So
that's kind of you, because you're the one that generally is trying to schedule these things. So it's good to hear that you throw all the love our way. It's like, yeah, we have been great, Tim.
Yeah.
Thanks for, doing your 80% or type of thing.
That's how I am as a leader, Katie. I like to give love to
credit that people don't deserve. I like it. We have been pretty good at getting together. So that's been good. I'll tell you where JLee is not.
Yes.
Based on the fact that travel hasn't opened up, she's not at like an 8-star hotel somewhere in her company chain that people aren't even aware that's a Marriott property. Like one of those, right? It's like the Slovakian Yacht Club.
Yeah,
it's a Marriott property.
You're in a 12-star hotel over water, and they have you guys got the shark room, and there's live sharks swimming under a glass floor. Yeah.
It's a hard life.
It is a hard life being.
She's waiting for that to come back, though. She's really waiting for that to come back.
By the way, the HR Famous fans out there. It sounds stupid calling people fans. The other HR pros and TA pros that listen to us, there was a clamoring for more Jessica Lee Girl Scout manager leader talk. We want to know the Jessica Lee that manages the Girl Scout troop. So we're going to have to dig in next episode with that.
Yeah. So, the funny thing about that is that'll be uncomfortable, right? Because the reason JLee took that position in her eyes is so it could be done right.
Well,
so that means the whole conversation about accountability and get your what together, all of that.
There is a piece of that though too, where because all three of us are the same. We never. Every time our kids get involved with something, it was either I volunteer and help or that buffoon over there is going to do it. And I do not want that to happen. And I remember volunteering for soccer the first time. I had never played soccer. I don't know anything about it, but I was looking at some of the dudes that were ready to raise their hand. I'm like, no, I can run a practice at the very least. I'll figure this out. That's why YouTube's there.
Hey, by the way, we played one church league season of soccer. That's how we roll down in the Southeast. Although it's a lot of good soccer around here.
Big circle before the game, hold hands, pray.
Yeah, so
kick a ball.
We were in the our oldest son, who's now a sophomore in college, was in the 4s and the 5s combined in that upward league, right?
Yeah, ankle biters.
And I would tell you it was the meanest groups. It was the meanest group of soccer moms ever I think it pushed us away from soccer. They wouldn't let Mrs. Dunn be part of any of the reindeer games. So we were like that kid that, like, if they do drafts and upward, that our kid was 4, got drafted late, right? He's just like a throw-in, and everybody else knew each other.
I think they were intimidated by Angela, her brains, her wit, her looks, like, you know,
the guns. Don't forget the guns.
The gun show. She's a full package. You know, so yeah, I can understand. Hey, by the way, we got to move into like an actual HR topic, but one of the first soccer experiences we had in Omaha when my oldest son was 4 years old, they did a really cool thing where they just did 3-on-3, no goalies, let these kids just learn how to run, you know, up and down with a ball. And so we got partnered up. I got partnered up with the assistant athletic director of Creighton, his son. His son might be the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. At 4 years old, this kid would literally try to tackle a kid if he had a breakaway goal. And he would score goals. I mean, we'd have to take him off the field or he would score every single time. And he would just, and every time was a celebration, like take my shirt off and run around. Cause that's like, you know, and like 4 years old, like he just knew he would drive it into kids. And it was nothing to be like 30-0 at the end of the game. And you're nonstop apologizing to the other parents.
Yeah. So soccer without goalies seems like the way to play, right?
Yeah. Oh,
because
for sure.
It gets the scoring way up. You avoid the, hey, what's the over under on the soccer game? 0.75.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, Katie, but yeah, anyways, we'll move on from youth athletics. We don't get to talk about youth athletics when Jessica's here because, you know, JLee does. She's always just kind of like, what? But, you know, her kids will get into that eventually. So, Katie, today we want to talk about employee loyalty, and it's somewhat of a hot button over the last few years to talk about employee loyalty because you immediately draw sides, right? You either because you have, I think, executives and hiring managers that will go, there's no more employee loyalty. And then you have employees going, yeah, we don't have employers that are loyal to us. And, you know, so let's discuss. And I was sending you a message, you know, before we got on when we talked topics. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give a TED Talk on employee loyalty because I hear like people say this on the employee side. And it pisses me off. One, because I feel like I was a loyal employee. Even when I felt like employers, like I made the decision to go work there in that job, right? And if I was even if I didn't like the job or like my boss, I made the decision, right? So if I was there, I was all in, I was loyal. I think people believe that that's true for themselves as well. They think they're loyal because they show up and do the damn job. That's not loyalty. You showing up to do the fucking job isn't loyalty, Chris.
Oh, here we go.
It's not.
TED-Talk.
Yeah. Anybody,
set the timer, 18 minutes.
Any moron can show up and do the goddamn job. You're not loyal for showing up and doing the job. So the example I have, right, is you know, I talk about, you know, her a lot, like Lori Johnson, who works for me. She's been here over 20 years. We hired her. Shout out to Lori. Hired her at 18. Green as grass. And, you know, she came in that time she got married. She had 3 kids. She's moved up. She now is in HR with us. And I tell the story, like at any point I could call Lori and say like, hey, we're going to get HRU logo tattoos on our ass. And she'd be just like, when and where? I'm there, baby. Like, let's do this. But I mean, besides that, I'm pretty certain I could ask her to kill somebody and she would probably do it for me. Now she's loyal to me, but she's also loyal to the company because I've been here and there and back and she's been here the entire time. But then people go, well, that's great. But I feel like the company's also been loyal to her because you could imagine in 20 years, there's trials and tribulations and a lot of stuff that happens in an employee's life side and that we've supported her along the entire way. So there's that kind of magic, but she's just not one. So I started thinking, Yes, she shows up and does the job. Yes, she's a high performer.
Check.
Check. There has to be more than that. So then I start thinking, what are the other things that you would consider, Katie, from a loyal employee? If you said, hey, right? Like, think about the most loyal employees you've ever had working for you. What did they have in common?
Well, I think first of all, most of them are high performers that, whether it's like formal or organic, they have some type of career path with you, right? I mean, there's this exchange, like with loyalty. There's this exchange. I was going to joke around with you and say, I was going to quote Boiler Room and say, hey, honor's in the dollar, kid. But I think there's this happy medium between somebody shows up and not only does the damn work, but they do it well. And they get well regarded from people in the company, and they have this natural progression, which most of the time isn't formal. And they don't even have to have a change in job title. They get this natural exchange from your company and the people in the company for the work they do, right? It's like the most, and maybe I'm not describing loyalty, but the people that have the longest runway in a company are generally the people who have done great work. And people recognize that, and they start to identify themselves with the work they've done with the company and what they've helped build. And when it all comes together magically, they get rewarded for it in a variety of ways, including financial. React to that.
No, I totally agree. One of the things that Lori brings to the table that some people might rip on is that she's a cheerleader for the company, right? Like a cheerleader for the brand. At the same time, she's protective of that. So, hey, I'm proud of where I work. So I'm going to tell others, and so it's one of those people that would refer others, right? And she has referred other people along the way.
I was going to say
other high performers, right?
Yeah.
But she's also
willingness to refer is a big one.
Big one. The willingness to uncover the terrorist. She's the first one.
Protective.
That will come in and say, hey, that joker that you hired that's not performing well is ripping you behind your back, or ripping the company behind our backs, or whatever. So she's willing to actually, come in. But again, she's not viewed by anybody in the company as a narc or anything like that, because, she has really kind of informal leadership, kind of strong leadership capabilities. But she's protective. Right. And I love that. At any point I know that someone's got my back, and to me that shows that's loyalty, right?
I think that's good. They're like they're not a narc, to your point. They're not Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street, but they are a little bit, they're the TSA of your company culture, right? They're like putting people through the screener, maybe like a little body check. And then if they see something out of the corner of their eye, some type of funky stuff, they're going to be like all over it, right?
Yeah, but it's not always, right? Again, she knows if someone's just goofing off for the day or doing whatever, she's not going to tell me that kind of stuff. She could care less. But if someone's truly being a terrorist, that they're truly trying to hurt the brand and hurt the company she loves, then she's going to make sure that I'm aware. The other piece is, and she always jokes about this, as we bring in people to interview for positions in the company, she's the gatekeeper, right? So they usually go through her first, and she always will tell us after the fact, like if we make an offer, she'll go, yeah, that's not going to work. And I'm like, wait a minute, why didn't you tell us before? So she just kind of knows right away. And then you start to dig in, well, why is that? Right. And so all those little things that a gatekeeper gets to see that maybe I wouldn't see, like they treat me with respect, but they kind of talk down to her, or they were doing something squirrely in the parking lot that she witnessed before they came in, or whatever it might be.
Looking for the inside scoop on payroll? Whether you're a payroll pro or just curious about your paycheck, we've got two podcasts you cannot miss. It's About Payroll delivers the latest trends for payroll pros, and It's About Your Paycheck is here for employees, breaking down pay and rights in simple terms. Two great shows, two great hosts, and endless insights to keep you informed and empowered. Subscribe now and elevate your payroll knowledge. Brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets people.
Yeah, well, let me give you another take Tim.
Yeah.
I think employee loyalty doesn't happen. I don't believe employee loyalty happens anywhere unless there's a quality manager of people involved. I don't think you attach any employee to a company culture to the extent where they become loyal in all the ways that you described, unless there's somebody who minimum like cares about the person and has their best interest at heart. And then you talk about all the elevated things that a manager of people does. I'll guarantee you one thing, Lori, 18-year-old, 20-year-old Lori, we've got like a bunch of great examples of loyal employees at Kinetics as well. They don't go to a company if the experience sucks and there's not some type of connection with somebody who has their best interest at heart from a career perspective. And I'm not talking about, you don't have to be best friends with somebody, but that employee has to be able to say, okay, I get it. Like they spoke the truth to me. It wasn't pleasant. They looked out for me. They didn't have to do any of it. They were just like a normal human being that rose above the threshold of the politics and all the bullshit. And employee loyalty doesn't happen without that, right?
So it sounds like you're telling me that I'm a really good manager of people.
I'm saying that there's someone in the environment at HRU Tech that provided Lori that. There's multiple people that could be, Tim.
There is multiple people. You know, Katie, the one thing that drives me crazy is when I hear individuals, and usually this is from the employee side, not the employer side, who's like, well, there's no loyalty anymore because companies aren't loyal. And I just want to go, will you shut up? Like, this is business, right? We're not talking about practice, Katie. We're talking about the game. This is business. This is, hey, guess what? If we don't lay some folks off, the entire company is going to go under and everybody will lose their job. And that has nothing to do with loyalty or lack thereof loyalty. That's a reality of how business is run. And
I got a great question for you, Tim. I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
So non-COVID, because furloughs in COVID do not count.
Yeah. Wait, well, gosh, Katie, wait a minute. There was people that kept their employees on during COVID and paid them.
No, right.
Yeah.
There's also people that did that to the extent they could and had some furloughs.
Yes.
And Kinetics is a part of that, right?
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, and I'm not talking about COVID. Can a loyal employee, based on the way we've described it, if you have a 10% reduction in force, does a loyal employee, our definition, ever become part of those layoffs?
No.
Correct.
In fact, by the way,
that is correct.
Because we did like I know you guys did furloughs. We did like the partial furlough thing where people took like 1 day, and some of the reduction kind of stuff. I mean, and a lot of companies had to do what they had to do, right, to survive. Everyone understands that. But it was a conversation that myself and kind of our leadership team had when you start talking about, well, gosh, I mean, because we did kind of worst case scenarios, right? If we have to start laying people off, who gets laid off and when? And I'm like, look, I'm not putting someone like Lori on that list. Come on. She might be the last person to go. She's the most loyal. She'll kill for me. So why would I ever talk about that?
And Tim, I got to jump in here for anybody at Kinetics that's listening to this. I'm not COVID thing doesn't qualify for me. Get in normal times and business goes down. First of all, you have to accept the fact that not every employee is loyal. You also have to accept the fact that loyalty, as we're defining it, doesn't mean that you just come in and do the damn job. It means that there's this protective aspect that you're fully ingrained and you are invested emotionally in this business, and it manifests itself in a bunch of different ways. I would just tell you, 10% reduction in force in any company, that's not just doing it by numbers. Any company that actually ponders the individual, the loyal employees are not part of that, because performance, the ability to perform and buy in, is a part of the definition of loyalty that we're giving.
Yes, exactly. For sure. No, but it's part of that thing where I do want to it's almost like that you could have an interview question, Katie, that is somewhere around. So tell me, do you think that an employer that lays off employees during bad times, that there's a lack of loyalty there? And if somebody told me yes, I think I would say like, I'm never going to hire you, right? Like you're so naive to the reality of the real world in business that there's just no possible way that I would ever want you to come and work in my organization. And yet there's a huge number of people out there, Gen Z, younger millennials, I think, that have this kind of warped sense of loyalty means that a company will go out of business for you. No, like that doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen. And if you think that way, life is going to be very hard on you.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree.
I'm preaching to the choir, right?
It's a great TED Talk. Like I can't offer up anything beyond that, but I mean, I do agree with you. That's not loyalty. And I just believe, right, that in normal times, if you have a reduction in force, well, let me ask you this. Company with 100 employees, how many match the definition that we've just talked about of actually being loyal? What's your percentage?
Well, gosh, that's, it's hard. I mean, I think there's a range in that percentage. My first initial thing that popped in my head was 10%, but I think depending if you have a really great culture company, that could go up to 50%, right? Like if you have really great visionary leaders and stuff like that, that can raise quite a bit. I've also worked with some really toxic environments where, I mean, you're lucky if you had 1%, 2%, right? You're lucky if you have a couple of people that have your back and the rest are like just circling, like vultures waiting for you to die kind of thing.
Hey, from a recruiting perspective, Tim, I'll give you another take. The loyal employee is one when they get recruited, and I'm not suggesting this is a great thing, which, by the way, I'm like, don't at me, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you should. I don't know. But
at like Chris_Dunn. You'll never find him because the underscore is ridiculous.
Twitter's such a positive environment.
It's so great.
I should spend more time there. But
it's like
what I was going to say is in the recruiting world, there's this threshold of what it takes to get somebody to change jobs. And I'm doing this off memory, but I've done a couple posts on this. I think if you get somebody for the same money or a 5% increase, they're running from a burning ship or they're running from a burning career, like one of the two. If you get them to change for that, that's definitely the case. What I always like phrase it as
3 weeks into the harassment investigation.
Correct. Administrative leave with pay. So, but on the flip side of that, I think, what I've always espoused, if you get to like a 20% increase, it's hard for the normal person not to take that money. I think the definition of loyalty is somebody that in that 5 to 10% range doesn't even consider it. They're just like, no, go away. I've got it too good here. There's too much good stuff going on here for the future for me to take your 10% increase where I have no visibility into what a shit show you are.
So let me flip it on you. If a loyal employee is one of those ones that you said, yep, loyal employee comes to you and says, hey, I got this offer, whatever percent, right? What percent are you going to match or exceed to keep that loyal employee?
Well, it depends what it is, right? I mean, there's a lot of factors that come into that. First of all, do I have a compression issue if I adjust this person beyond like a certain place? What do I believe the market value is?
Yeah.
What do I believe the market value is? What am I willing to pay for that job? Certainly for our definition, in a normal company, if 10% of employees are loyal and they fit that definition, then certainly you're going to do something. First of all, the mere fact that person has come to you, like with the offer in hand, probably says a lot about like loyalty because most people don't.
Yeah.
And as you and I
they would never get to that point, right? They would come and say, hey, I'm feeling like I need more money before they go on the outside to try to find more money.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I still think, you never want to shortchange people on money. And we have to say that like as the disclaimer, right?
Yeah.
So you want the chance to react. And by the way, like I've never been part of a company that for a loyal employee, the way we're defining it wouldn't like automatically, if they weren't being proactive with that employee's compensation, which generally happens over time, that if they got word that change was in the air, wouldn't do something to protect the asset. And if the loyal employee waited till the time they had an offer in hand, wouldn't say, first of all, you're just going to have a great conversation with the person, right? It's like, what do you want to do? Like, where are you going? What do you want to do? Is there something else from a career perspective here? And if there's not, if it just comes down to like economically and you didn't catch the signals or whatever, I've never been at a company that wouldn't take proactive action with our working definition in this podcast of what an employee, what a loyal employee is.
So if you're sitting there right now and you're going, God, Tim is full of shit, right? Like this isn't the way it works. And you feel like there isn't loyalty in the world, either on the employer side or the employee side or both. My conclusion of my TED Talk is this. Think of yourself interviewing somebody or interviewing for a job. What is your feeling? My estimation is when you interview for a job, and let's take away like the jobs that like, oh, I'm a college sophomore working at a pizza place. Eventually I'm going to be an engineer. Like not that job. I'm talking about the real job, right? Interview for the real job. You have a belief that you're going to work for that company for the rest of your career. Most people do, right? They go in thinking that. They don't go in there thinking this will be a great stop for 2 years and then I'm going to work someplace else. By the way, the company that's interviewing also isn't interviewing you going, I can't wait to fire Chris in 2 years, right? They don't do that. They think we're going to bring them in. We're going to give you all the training. We're going to give you all the love, and you're going to raise up and you're going to get to whatever level, the highest level we have, and you're going to be here for the rest of your career. So both sides want and expect loyalty. And so the breakdown is not between the desire and the expectation because both of those are there. The breakdown, and Katie, you and I keep coming back to this, to me, the breakdown is in the reality of business environment and performance. That's where that means. So there, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Bravo. Bravo. Is it break time? Are there Danishes in the lobby? Well,
our next speaker will be up in 10 minutes. Please use the exits to use the restrooms and get yourself a drink. That's what we have.
It's a good TED Talk. What made you want to talk about employee loyalty?
I probably spent too much time this week on the Twitters and just seeing people whine and complain and bitch and acting like the world of work is completely broken and gross and destroyed. And it's not. A lot of people love going to work and love their jobs and they love coming into the office or they love staying at home and working for, if that's the role their company has, whatever it is, the vast majority of people actually enjoy what they do and they find a lot of rewards in what they do. I think the minority 10%ers on both sides hate their lives, hate the world, hate work. And it shows, right? And that's what social media has become. So I probably spent too much time there and I was on a soapbox going, no, it's not that bad. There's a lot of great stuff that happens for people.
Did you comment? Did you leave a reply?
Oh, you know how it goes, Katie. Like they can't wait for me to reply in anything so they can destroy me. Like, oh, here comes the old white dude. You don't know anything, So, hey.
What you need is you need a Twitter. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this. You need a Twitter for old white dudes is what you need. By the way,
either an old white dude Twitter
not the
or
real world.
It's not the real world. Yeah, no.
Twitter's awful. So,
even LinkedIn has become a little Twitter-ish in some aspects. I think people are a little more careful there. But man, I think during the pandemic, people have gotten a lot more aggressive in their opinions, got a little bit loose in their careers.
Loose in the corners.
On LinkedIn. So you might want to tighten that up. So, hey, Katie, that's what we had today. You got any shout outs before we get out of here?
Honors in the dollar, kid. That's my advice for you. I'm joking, of course. Hey, my advice for anybody listening to this that disagrees with you is you haven't had like a great like career advocate, like for your career. If you feel like there's no loyalty, you haven't found, for lack of a better word, any career love with somebody to be an advocate for you, right? That's just it. Yeah. And you're mad at the world and that's okay. And God bless you. Like go get the dollar. But
you love me
people-
talking about Applebee's, Katie. At Applebee's, we called that, we give someone the gift, right? The gift of actually letting them go so they could go find a job in a career in a company where they find that advocate. Give them the gift.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Positive.
Yes.
All right, HR Famous. Guys, that's it. That's all we have this week. Coming back next week will be the always intelligent and gracious and much more insightful Jessica Lee. For Chris Dunn, I am Tim Sackett, and we are out.